Welcome to the Red Half of Sheffield preview podcast. And let's wind the clock back a couple of years ago when these two teams got together. Usually you throw the record out when these two teams tangled together. I don't know if it's a rivalry or what the hell it is. I guess I, I, I don't know. I guess I'll ask the man himself. I'm joined by Michael, who is, I guess, the biggest Wrexham fan in the States, if you would say that, to preview Wrexham v. Sheffield United in the Nobody Cares Cup midweek. Michael, how are you?
I'm good, brother. I'm good. I definitely don't. There's a lot of us over here now, man, and there are a lot of very passionate people about Sheffield United and about Wrexham over here in the States. It's thankfully expanding, which is great to see.
Yeah, it is. It is. That's one thing. If you almost turn the clock back to a couple of years ago when we had you on, that's kind of when the whole Wrexham thing was kind of on its way to start. It was bubbling up, and in the better part of 2 years, it's kind of in a sense revolutionized the game in a sense over here, because you have a lot of people that are caring and tuning in to watch Wrexham and watch the lower leagues of English football. It is
absolutely.
I mean, it's one of those things that I didn't see coming a couple of years ago, but now in a sense, it's good for the game.
Yeah, Chad, a lot of people didn't. I'm glad for a couple of reasons that all this happened with Wrexham domestically here in the States. One, for me, it's been, not to be dramatic, but it's been life-changing. It's been fantastic to see the club grow and see the exposure of the club and the lifelong friends and things like that I've made over in Wales. It's been very exciting. It's been great. But just for what it's done for football here in the States, as you know, MLS is getting a lot more attention. Everybody's got their opinions about the MLS and things like that. We don't have to go down that rabbit hole. But even when you look at, the other leagues, USL, there's, leagues popping up all across the country now. We've got leagues down here on the coast in Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, lower Mississippi, that are popping up every year, which is great. I've gone to a couple of those matches recently, which, we talked about this when we spoke a couple of years ago now, but I would have never gone to a Pensacola Bay Football Club match 5 years ago. There's no shot, especially paid money to go,
Yeah, no kidding.
But here we are. It's expanded the game. It's given more exposure to the EFL and international football in general over here in the States, which has been great.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to piggyback off of too. The new, I guess, TV rights deal over here in the States.
Yeah.
We're going to get to see more of the lower leagues, just not the championship. And in a sense, you're going to get to see League One and League Two, especially with the attraction of Wrexham. I would assume that, we're already guaranteed. Every team in the EFL is guaranteed at least 20 games on TV this season, if not more, especially if, the likes of Wrexham over here in the States draw so many more ratings, as I assume they did on opening day yesterday. Yeah, it's a good thing to grow the game as a whole.
Agreed.
Now let's talk Wrexham. Yesterday, a 3-2 win against Wycombe. Sum it up. How did it go? It was 3-0. I thought I saw at one point.
2-0. They came back and got one, and then we went up 3-1. They got a late one from a sub. It was first half was about as good of a start as we could have hoped for. I jokingly tweeted some things after the match ended, but one of the things I was serious about was it was a very stark contrast from opening day and match day number one last fall. Last season we opened with MK. They pumped 5 past us. Their forwards, Lecco and Isa, were. I put on Twitter yesterday they ran rampant on our asses last season. That opening day, and it was a very different feel from match one last year. Yesterday, thankfully, first 45 went our way. Obviously, going into the half, with a lead, which was good to see. It was really good to see Jack Marriott get off the mark, get an opening goal that early in the season. It was some goal. I don't know if you saw it or not. Ollie Palmer back heels one to him, and then he curls in the top corner, which was great to see. And then we were able to finish it. A little nervy in the second half, obviously. Started getting pulled apart a little bit on defense. Spacing was off a bit, but neither here nor there. It ended our way. We got 3 points and top of the table in League One. Call it a career. Call it a season today.
Yeah, stop the count. It's over.
Yeah, man. Let's cancel the season. But we are top of League One currently, which not even 5 years ago. If you would have said that 3 years ago, people would have thought you probably had too much to drink. But that is where we currently sit. It was a very good day. The race course was rocking. Good atmosphere. It was a good day to be a Wrexham fan, and obviously you guys had a good day as well.
Yeah. It was against the Preston team that aren't going to be very good. They'll be lucky to stay up this year.
Yeah, you're right.
It was a. I don't want to say it was a surprise.
Yeah. In
a sense, but it was 2 goals that. Really, realistically, it was like watching paint dry for the first 45 minutes. We get the goal in the first half off of a deflection, and then, the second half, you get the other goal where it is just the goalkeeper just sends it right to Hamer. He flips it over or chips it over the goalkeeper's head in to make it 2, and then that was kind of it. We just can't. Preston never laid a glove on us. Yeah. But with that being said, this. Come May, I know it's 1 of 46. Come the end of the season, where do you see Wrexham? Is this, there's so many people that say that I've heard this year, Wrexham are going to get into the playoffs, but they might just not have enough because League One is a tough league to get out of.
Absolutely.
Where do you? I understand it's still recording at the 11th of August. We got the entire season in front of us. Where do you see?
That's the problem, isn't it? Because if one of us makes a prediction, people are going to play it back 9 months from now and say, "Look at these morons!"
Yeah.
It's twofold for me. A larger majority than not of our fan base, if they're being honest, are going to say this can be a growth year. Get the team together, make sure we are competitive in League One. Most of the preseason predictions and things like that from fans that I've seen, Wrexham fans and others, have us finishing somewhere 10th, 12th, 14th, right around middle of the table. Completely can see that happening, no question. Because like you just said, Chad, it's one of those to where League One is a tough league to get out of, and I'm interested myself to see the difference between that jump from the National League to League Two and from League Two to League One, which we're obviously seeing now. The three-peat, as I understand it, has never happened before. Triple promotions back to back to back. Is there a storyline to where Wrexham can be the first club to ever do it? Of course. We did strengthen positions this transfer window this summer. George Dobson looks like a very, very quality player for us. We've got some other pieces that we brought in that we didn't even see yesterday. But to answer the question, very long story short, I think mid-table is likely where we finish, somewhere probably 8th to 12th. But if I also am answering with my heart, I can also see a scenario to where we are pushing for a playoff spot. Those last 2.5, 3 months of the season. If that happens, I don't think that would be crazy. I think the likelihood is very, very, very high that we finish somewhere around that 8th to 12th mid-table area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of where I have you finishing more closer towards the 8th place, or even sniffing around the playoffs. Yeah. But it's crazy to see how here we sit. It's like I said, it's August, and in 9 months, it could be completely 1 or 2 injuries here or there shit could hit the fan, and then you think you're going to finish 12th or 8th, and you end up finishing 16th or something like that. That's how on a razor's edge it is.
Yeah, and it's also our star striker Paul Mullen didn't even play yesterday, and we still put three past Wickham, which was great. Mulls comes back. That's going to create even more opportunities for goal scoring. Hopefully, we would think in theory. And that also gives Parkey the double-edged sword of we've got some depth there at striker. And even having said that, there's a large portion of the Wrexham fan base that still thinks that we need to sign another striker, center forward type of player that may be a higher quality than where we're at right now, championship level, lower Premier League level striker. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. My opinion is that I think it's going to. I think we're still going to bring in another striker, center forward type of player. But again, we didn't even have who most would consider our best striker playing yesterday. Obviously, Moles had a back surgery. He's going to be out for a bit. But we do have answers there, thankfully. Like I said, Marriott came in yesterday. Fletcher came off the bench, put in a late goal that kind of sealed it for us. And then we've got young Max Kluwerth, 21, 22 years old, from a center back position that scored the opener yesterday, nice and early, which was great to see.
Yeah. Okay. So what everybody's probably tuning into this for? How do you think midweek's going to go? Are Wrexham going to rotate, or are they going to put a stronger side? I suspect we're going to rotate because eyes on the league season, and I don't think we've made it past the first round in this cup in like 15 years or something like that.
Yeah. No, Parkey's pretty notorious for, putting the best foot forward, even early in cup and trophy runs. Now, when it was the EFL trophy and things like that, the National League, we would rotate a bit. But now when you're talking about playing you guys, I think it's going to be a very strong side to give ourselves the best chance to move forward in the competition.
Yeah, I think you guys win this thing just because, on the sheer fact. Yeah, I don't see any reason for us to advance in this cup for any reason.
Yeah.
I mean, you could almost use it in a sense for more of like a preseason friendly type deal to get more minutes in some of the players that we brought in. So that's why I think we're going to have a heavily rotated side compared to what we saw against Preston at the weekend. And I just think you either nick it 1-0 or 2-1, something like that. Yeah. It's going to be close because it's going to be one for the cameras, and I'm curious to see how it gets portrayed. Villain versus good guys, based on Billy Sharp and all that whole from the last time. So I'm curious to see how it gets played and publicized over here, and should be an interesting match.
It will. It's definitely going to have, there's some storylines there that write themselves, as apparently Wrexham, likes to do, which is understandable. It's entertaining, and the fact that we have those, I talked to you guys the day the draw was announced on Twitter and said, "Hey man, let's run it back. Let's do it again." Yeah. It was a lot of fun the first time. It's like I said, man, it's one that. Most of Wrexham Twitter and social media said the same thing when the draw was announced that morning, or afternoon rather, over there. That the storylines just sometimes they do the work for you, and the fact that we're going at it again it's going to be entertaining. I'm interested to see, talking about rotations and the side that we're going to put forward. We've got some really, really quality depth that. Mm-hmm. A lot of League One teams may not have early season before the transfer window closes and it opens back up mid-season. You look at George Evans was a stalwart of that CDM spot for us last year in midfield, and he came off the bench yesterday. Yeah. Because George Dobson got the start for us yesterday at that kind of CDM role, sitting in front of the back three. And you got a player like George Evans who, just a very high-quality player for us in League Two last year, and a large portion of the fan base thought so as well. And you got a guy like that coming off the bench. So when we talk about rotating, that's got a little bit of different connotation depending on what type of club you're talking about, right? So when we got a guy, if I tell you that at our CDM spot in midfield, George Evans as opposed to Dobson's going to start, I wouldn't have any problem with that.
Yeah.
And when you're looking at that on paper, you're saying, holy shit, those are two pretty good options right there that a lot of League One, League Two teams aren't going to have to put forward in a cup competition. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we have options. We've got some depth. We're fortunate to do so. I say this all the time. It also gives Sparky that double-edged sword of, okay, somebody goes down with an injury and that type of stuff. Like you just mentioned, Chad, we've got a quality player to slide in at that spot. But if everybody's healthy, he's got some decisions to make, and he's going to have some, some cats, having mid-season to have some meetings. And asking about minutes and those types of things. So it's not an envious position in that regard, but it is envious for a lot of clubs to have that rotation and have that depth that we have right now.
For sure. Lastly, before we get out of here, I will ask well, I don't think I've did this while I had you on the last time. Your pre-match beverage, because I think it's similar to mine. Your go-to pre-match beverage, I should say.
Water with ice. You got to stay hydrated.
You got to stay hydrated, huh?
Yeah, I'm a whiskey guy. I'm a whiskey guy. I've been drinking more beer lately, but I will Tuesday afternoon. I'm gonna very, very likely have me a whiskey.
Good deal. Well, as always, I appreciate you coming on, Michael. And if you haven't done so, follow the podcast Red Half of Sheffield, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all that BS. And until I preview Norwich for match day 3, I will leave you with Up the Blades.